Hello, gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Pulling Their Card. Today we're going to go from South Florida to Washington, D.C. In this episode, we'll get a closer look at a bold voice with a big following and even bigger ambitions.
Representative Byron Donald!
He may be a representative of Florida, but this man is from New York, Brooklyn. East Flatbush neighborhood, graduated from Nazareth High School.
Listen, the word is that Donald J. Trump's gonna be here in a couple of minutes. That's the word. And so I think it's really important right now to let all of New York know.
The first thing that freedmen always want to know is,
country.
where is his family from? Well, Byron is not ADOS. He is first generation, and he's of Jamaican and Panamanian descent. Byron was raised in Brooklyn, New York, by a single immigrant mother. That being said, in his youth, he did indeed end up dealing with some common NDOS issues and finding himself in a little trouble early on, which he has had to atone for early and often in his political career.
That in politics, people will do anything to maintain power and authority. I think it's wrong.
Byron Donald won't say who those people are, but blames them for revealing his criminal past. It's been posted on the internet after it was ordered sealed by the courts. A 1997 misdemeanor arrest for distribution of marijuana, and in 2000, a second-degree felony for receiving a bribe. Donald says those claims are inaccurate. He claims he was arrested for possession of pot, not distribution.
After graduating and getting into that little bit of trouble, Byron left New York for Florida's top HBCU,
because
Florida
of
A&M.
what they're going to get academically. Their views and perceptions are going to be shaped and molded because of the experiences that they have through their curriculum, through their extracurricular activities.
Just as Kamala's Howard tenured is credited for her connection to the culture as an immigrant, Byron also was
our
shaped
mascot
in
is
the
a
halls of our
rattler,
HBCUs.
so we strike, and we strike again in all that we do. Our chants, our basketball games, our football games, our rattlers are always striking.
While there, Donald's got married, but sister he married apparently just did it for in-state tuition reasons, not for family building. Then, not long after that, Byron found himself becoming prey again to another sister, leading him back into the courtroom.
15 years ago, I came in contact with a girl. She offered me $1,000 for my debit card and my PIN number, and I gave it to her.
Shit, nigga, did it go through?
I never got the $1,000, but I had to make restitution to the bank, in excess of $7,000.
After navigating those troubles and making right of wrongs, Donald's changed his path in life by changing schools, changing his circle, and finding a new partner in his journey. A fact that a lot of folks in our community fail to acknowledge about Donald's positions today is that he is where he is because he was on the ground floor of the Tea Party movement, the movement that also pushed Donald Trump to the White House.
Question for you. What do you think is in store for America's future? Some of you just got a mental picture of an economically depressed nation in which your children they desire. However, there are others of you here today who still have an optimistic view for our nation.
This man was in the trenches with these folks. This man was in the gym putting up shots with these folks. Accepting that Donald's is a Tea Party Republican is one thing, but him having a white woman by his side is a whole nother. While pulling his card, we cannot ignore that which Umar could never approve. But through this investigation, we believe that we found that Donald's personal decisions have basically been shaped by his experiences in Brooklyn and at Fairview, and his life choices afterwards were a reaction to these lessons that he learned. See, Donald's appears to have turned away from rushing the process and from relationships that didn't have a purpose. And the more you actually pay attention, the more you actually see that if Erica Donalds was a black woman, she'd honestly be what most of these women refer to as goals. So I'm not really that sure that Erica is as big of a weakness for Byron with our community as she's presented to be. because she honestly might be his biggest strength.
Donald says her first move on the school board will be a push to make the meetings later. Right now they're at 4 p.m. and she says as a working mom, that just doesn't accommodate working parents who want to make their voices heard. Donald's also talked about applying her background in finance to the upcoming budget and developing a workshop for the board to discuss high-stakes testing. She's continually spoken out against Common Core. Tonight she says she'll continue fighting for other parents.
We have a trend towards a one-size-fits-all type of education system, and that's what parents have an issue with, and certainly what I saw with my own kids, that even with 3 boys, they're all very different, and I want to see a school system that accommodates those differences.
One thing about it, that FAMU shit stayed inside him forever, because whenever an opportunity arose for the Donalds family, they strike and they tend to win.
Currently held by Trey Radel. Radel on a leave of absence after pleading guilty to a cocaine charge 2.5 weeks ago, and he continues to resist calls from state and local GOP leaders for him to step down. 4 in Your Corner's Liza Fernandez asking Radel's toughest opponent from Collier County what his intentions are now. Liza?
Patrick, 34-year-old money manager Byron Donald beat Trey Radel in the primary election last year in Collier County 28 to 25%. And of the 4 or so names tossed about as potential Republican challengers to Congressman Trey Radel's seat, Donald is the only one to come out and say he's formally considering it.
I love my boys. I love my wife.
Byron Donald's wife of 12 years and 3 boys are clearly his life. And that's why, without judgment, if not sympathy, Donald says he knows where Congressman Trey Radel's priority should be.
The thing for him that's most important is that he takes his time to get his life in order. That's something that's very important, not only for him, but for his wife, Amy, and for his son.
While calling Radel's drug scandal a distraction, Donalds won't comment on whether the congressman should resign.
I'm not really sure what his thought process is on that. You know, when you run for something like this, you really put your all into it. I know Trey did, and we all did.
In fact, Donald's hard work helped him edge Radel out during last year's primary in Collier County, 28 to 25%.
Why do you think you didn't have such a great showing in Lee County?
Name ID. Nobody knew me up there. And if I decided to run again, I think that my support in Lee County would be substantially larger than it was before.
But it seems no one has forgotten Byron Donalds either.
My wife and I. We've received a lot of communications and a lot of support from all over the Congressional District, even places where I didn't get support before. So we're probably going to make a decision over the next 45 to 60 days.
And for a man who deals with numbers all day, he's now crunching numbers of a different sort.
In politics, you have to be able to put together the money in order to campaign strong and to do those things. But it's also community support. If there are people in Lee County, Cape Coral, Fort Myers, Estero, Bonita Springs, Naples, and Marco Island that want to support me, I'd love to have their help.
To be able to succeed the way that he has on election after election, when your demographics are overwhelmingly white, old, and wealthy, is a feat unto itself. I mean, Byron Donald, up to this point, has been an election where black people has represented less than 5% of your record, and yet he continued to win the diet.
So, Florida, y'all, I didn't even get to the speech. All I said was, so Florida. You know, I've been through a lot of states the last 2 years. I've been telling them in Arizona, in Nevada, in Massachusetts, in Illinois, in North Carolina, in Georgia, in Texas, that a red wave was coming to the United States of America. And that red wave has started right here in the great state of Florida.
Part of this investigation will focus on how even though Donald shows support, even his allies are threatened by his potential.
But the pièce de résistance, the top of the food chain, is a guy who 4 years ago was newly elected Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. He then became America's Governor Ron DeSantis. And he is now being crowned by me. And wait, this is all coming up the top of my head, y'all. He's now being crowned by me as the man who knows how to send Charlie Crist into permanent retirement, Ron DeSantis. But more than that, you have told the rest of the country we are sick and tired of Democrat leadership, and in Florida, we don't want to see it anymore. You told them loud and clear they can keep their lockdowns in New York. You told them loud and clear that they can keep kids out of classroom in Chicago. But when you come across I-75 or I-95, if you land in Miami International or in Jacksonville International, you are now in the land of the free, which is the great state of Florida.
An issue for Donald's is that the more you scroll, the more you see his wife's politics as well as him pandering, basically at our expense. See, both the Donalds put a heavy focus on education, which many freedmen could happily support. But Donald's at times forgets that he's not regional anymore, and some positions could hurt him in the end.
Where do you stand on this notion of not talking about race in a way that gives people discomfort in classrooms?
So you can have the historical discussion about the history of Black Americans, the contributions, the pitfalls, the perils, the tragedies. What you can't do is put in subjective viewpoints about what are the causes of this and what have been the outcomes of it on American society today.
The bill isn't about teaching subjective lessons. The bill is about teaching history in a way that makes people feel uncomfortable. Slavery is an inherently uncomfortable topic, right?
A white kid today didn't own slaves. A white kid today didn't persecute people from voting in the Jim Crow South. The white kid today is trying to learn and excel in his life like a Black kid is, like a Hispanic kid is.
Fake news? Yeah, not this time. But one thing that this investigation has uncovered is that while Donald's does provide ammo himself at times, oftentimes there's a narrative that's just being assigned to him from those threatened by the existence of an alternative national voice from a Black man.
That Black folks were better off during Jim Crow. That's an outlandish, outrageous, and out-of-pocket observation. We were not better off when a young boy named Emmett Till could be brutally murdered without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when Black women could be sexually assaulted without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when people could be systematically lynched without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when children could be denied a high-quality education without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when people could be denied the right to vote without consequence because of Jim Crow. How dare you make such an ignorant observation? You better check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Well, Donald's heard what Jeffries had to say, and this was his response.
America, Joe Biden's campaign is lying to you once again, and they're gaslighting. Now they're trying to say that I said Black people were doing better under Jim Crow. I never said that. They are lying. But why would you be surprised? Because they always lie. This is the same Joe Biden that said, if you don't vote for him, then you ain't Black. The man is a liar. Sorry, just call it what it is. What I said is that you had more Black families under Jim Crow, and it was the Democrat policies under HEW, under the welfare state, that did help to destroy the Black family. That's what I said. And I also said you're seeing a reinvigoration of Black families today in America, and that is a good thing. So don't listen to the lies from the Biden administration. I know what I said, and I'll say it straight to camera. They got to run to the Philadelphia Inquirer to move their lies. Joe Biden does not care about Black people. He never has. He cares about power, first, second, and third. They can go somewhere with all that. See ya.
Really? First of all, Congressman Donalds, if you have an issue, you take issue with the reporting of the Philadelphia Inquirer. And if you say that's not what you said, okay, produce us an audio recording. Produce us a video recording of exactly what you said during that. if you're disputing what the reporting is.
When it's not one of the chosen black men attempting to tear him down, it's a coordinated effort by others to keep free black men either seeing things exactly as they see them or uninterested entirely. See, the more you look at the loudest voices speaking about his positions on race issues, the more you see it's to influence, despite liberals virtue signaling to keep free black men from considering other options.
And I want you to hear it in its full context. Listen.
I grew up with my mom. My dad and my mom, things that don't work out. As an adult, I look at my father and I say, bro, I don't know what happened. Were you my father and I love you? Wow. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. Wow. But I'm gonna tell you this, growing up, the one thing I knew I wanted to do, and this is not about my father, this is about what I wanted to do, is I wanted to be a father to myself. And so one of the things that's actually happening in our culture, which you're now starting to see in our politics, is the reinvigoration of black families with younger black men and black women. And that is also helping to breathe the revival of a black middle class in America. You see, during Jim Crow, the black family was together. During Jim Crow, more black people were not just conservative, because white people always have been conservative minded, but more black people voted conservatively. And then HEW, Lyndon Johnson, and then you go down that road, and now we are where we are. What's happened in America the last 10 years, I say, because it's my contemporaries as well as its contemporaries, you're starting to see more black people be married in goals, raising kids. It's when you home with your wife raising your kids, and then you look at the world, you're saying, now wait a minute, time out. This does not look right. How can I get something to my kids? It goes back to the conversation of generational wealth. Not just having a job, generational wealth.
Honestly, fact checks aren't even necessary when a conversation clears on vibes alone. But look how it was portrayed. Byron continued to win at ballot boxes, and you constantly keep seeing his name mentioned at the highest
off the House floor, and she'll take it away from here. Nicole, go ahead.
Thanks, Ed and Caitlin. And as you mentioned, we are joined by Florida Congressman Byron Donald. Thanks so much for being with us, Congressman. Your name has now been put in the hat, and you've been nominated to become Speaker. Did you see that coming? Were you expecting that?
I did not see it coming. It's not something that I expected. But the thing of it is that I think my colleagues view me and my abilities here as being one of a leader. And so it is humbling. It is an honor. But it's not something that was planned.
You got at least 20 votes in the latest round. Is this a job that you want?
The job I really want to do is making sure that we, govern on behalf of the American people, that all the things that Republicans have campaigned on, securing our border, getting spending under control, doing what we can to cure inflation, actually handling our energy matrix in an appropriate way so we lower costs on the American people, that those things get accomplished. That's what I'm here for. Now, where we are is a situation where nobody has 218 votes. So my hat is in the ring to try to either get there or find a way that we can get there as a Republican
But your name
conference.
has come up twice, so do you want the job, yes or no?
It's a job that I would do reluctantly.
Why do you say that?
Because I think the Speaker's job is something that even I never contemplated wanting to do. I have young sons, that job takes you away from your family. But then I also understand that there are times in life where you're thrust into positions you didn't think you wanted, but here you are.
The man is always prepared for opportunity, and he's also saying more of what mainstream people want to hear from a politician and what's actually being reported, most likely because of the letter next to his name.
Its impact on waterways. Took a quick trip to Keyway tonight, talked about sea level rise and things of that nature. I think it's important to make sure you have a good grasp and understanding from people who study the sciences, especially dealing with water tables and with marine life, to make sure that we're making the appropriate decisions in Washington, and also trying to fund the appropriate projects to make sure that we keep Florida's waterways clean, repair the ones that need to be repaired for the future of our state.
that we actually listen to what Donald says, the more we see he's focused on economics, the environment, protecting the border, and all the things that you'd hope a congressman or a state or national leader would care about.
Mr. Beer, I saw you over there, heard your testimony over there. Do you agree with that statement?
Oh, absolutely not. If you compare the United States to other countries, it would take about 70 million people showing up in the United States tomorrow to get our immigrant share of our population to equal what we see in Australia, 35 million to get to where it is in Canada. The United States is an outlier for having a restrictive immigration policy.
Mr. Beer, do you think it is the appropriate for the American government to model that of Australia and other countries around the world?
I think we should do what's in our best interest, and I think immigration can benefit the United States if done legally in an orderly manner.
Mr. Beer, do you think it's in the nation's best interest to have a massively open southern border that is largely controlled by the drug cartels?
Absolutely not.
So, Mr. Beer, follow-up question to that. Do you think it is wise for the Biden administration to reverse its protocols at the southern border?
Its own protocols? Yeah. I don't understand. Why would it reverse its own protocols?
Well, let's go back. You just said that the current situation at the southern border is not in the nation's interest. It is not wise for the nation to have that.
Yeah.
And since the basic predicate of this hearing, by any objective measure, is that the policy prescriptions by Joe Biden since he became president has led to a massively open southern border, do you believe it's in the nation's interest for President Biden to reverse course on his policy prescriptions when he became president on January 20th, 2021?
I don't agree with the premise. His policies didn't cause this.
So his policies have not allowed for 3 million entrants into the country through wide open asylum and association from detention?
Sure, people definitely came. I don't dispute the numbers.
Do you deny
Biden's policies?
Do you deny the fact that the drug cartels are going to make $12 billion a year trafficking people into the United States?
We should defund the cartels by letting people come to this country legally. Then they wouldn't have to hire a cartel member.
Mr. Beer, how would they cross the southern border, which is largely controlled by the drug cartels on the Mexican side of the border? How would they trespass that?
They would get a visa and get on a plane.
So what you're advocating for is that the policy of the United States of America is that people can basically hop an airliner and come to the United States of their own volition.
Let's be real. Byron Donald with a D next to his name would be the most electric black politician in the game. But because he wears red and not blue, you're told that you cannot and should not see him for anything other than an op.
But what I will say first for the gentleman from New York is, hold on, I want everybody to get this now.
And the gentlewoman
To
from
the
New York.
to the gentleman from New York, man, listen. It's cool to have two people in my state that could be president. I don't know about New York. That's all I'm gonna say, though. That's all I'm gonna say.
They could be president. Who?
Oh shit! Come
DeSantis?
Come on, man.
DeSantis doesn't have a
Man,
shot.
45,
He's a white
45.
nationalist.
Oh, stop that.
He's a
Jamal.
nationalist.
No,
he's a
not.
white supremacist.
No, he's not, man.
He's anti-gay.
No, he's not.
anti-woman.
No, he's not.
He's
No.
anti-black.
Listen,
there's
so
no way he can be
so
president.
My former colleagues in the legislature,
Who's the other one? Who's the other
Republican
one?
and Democrat, when all that stuff was coming up last year, I called them. I said, "Tell me what's happening." They were like, "It's really not that, but people are trying to raise a fuss." I've had the conversations. It's not true. I've had the conversations.
Why can't those who have been incarcerated, who are released, who have done their time, why can't they be re-enfranchised and be allowed to vote?
They are in our state. That's
No, they're
already
not,
happening.
man. They
Jamal,
gotta pay all kinds of
I voted
fines
for
and
the
all
bill.
that.
Jamal,
Anyway,
I
y'all do
voted
y'all
for the bill. Jamal, I was there when
Well,
they drafted
who's the
it.
second guy? Who's the second guy? Second
guy. What's his
handsome black men. Handsome black men. We try to get these handsome black men. Listen, we gotta bring black men together. That's right. Yes.
News.
It's official. Florida Congressman Byron Donald is running for governor. He just made that announcement moments ago. Last week, President Trump endorsed him to replace current Governor Ron DeSantis in 2027. Just yesterday, DeSantis said his wife, Casey DeSantis, would be a much better option.
Owls might have caught it on Fox Tuesday evening.
Are you ready to make the plunge?
Well, look, Sean, after a lot of prayer, a lot of thoughts with my family and my friends, I'm here to announce my candidacy to be the next governor of the great state of Florida.
Congressman Byron Donald saying he wants to take over for Florida's governor when he terms out in 2026.
We've had a great governor. Ron DeSantis has done a tremendous job for our state. But now the job is to keep the best state in the country as the best state in the country. And so that's going to be the mission at hand. And I'm excited to announce my candidacy with you tonight.
Donald's a fellow Republican, says he wants to focus on cutting insurance costs, restoring the Everglades, and to make Florida the financial hub of the world, maybe even putting crypto in its financial portfolio. Donald's first campaign press release out not 24 hours later. It offered his bio and had that endorsement from President Donald Trump right at the top. Some Florida Republicans now eager to do the same.
We need a strong leader, and we need somebody that can work with the legislature, that can work with everyone, but also be the face and be somebody that can be the future of our party and the future of Florida. And I can think of no better person for that than Congressman Donald.
Gentlemen, what happens when white people, white men specifically, have to share the power that they have? We sing it over and over again. They never want to share with black men, so they turn their sights instead to DEI, as well as a little bit of nepotism. Ron DeSantis, despite being supported for nearly a decade by Donalds, has looked to use DEI to keep Byron. He's stopping
you
the
got a
power
guy
of the
like
governorship
Byron,
from leaving
he
his
just
own
hasn't
house.
been a part of any of the victories that we've had here over the left over these last years. He's just not been a part of it. He's been in other states campaigning, doing that, and that's fine. But okay, well then deliver results up there.
Pundits think DeSantis has another candidate in mind, his wife. There's growing speculation Casey DeSantis will enter the race, and recent polling shows her with the highest favorability, 30% to Donald's 15%. All the more reason for Donald's to launch early, say political experts.
So right now, Byron Donald is already in third place, but he currently has President Donald Trump's endorsement. The challenge for him is that he's currently relying solely on the white Republican vote in a primary to help elevate him to be the challenger for the actual election. You see, in this instance, free black men have the opportunity to provide the bump that he'd need just to get where he needs to go. The strategy focus that's been enacted for this Florida election by the Let's Define Progress conference is to sacrifice this election's primary with the Democrats and instead register as Republicans to take part in the Republican primary to choose who is the Republican representative for the governor's seat. You could certainly ask why. For any freedman, the answer is clearly evident. Florida is a Republican state. Voting Democrat is a waste of a vote. Taking part in the Republican primary gives free black men more power in this election than they would have taking part in a primary where the person who wins is guaranteed to lose. While local elections certainly matter, in the end, freedmen still have the opportunity to vote for Democrats down ballot during the general election. Registering Republican doesn't mean we can't vote Democrat later on, but we would have much more power as a swing vote, tilting electoral power and untapped voters towards Donald's in the gubernatorial primary in Florida as Republican.